The first time Leo and Maya broke up, the leaves had just started to fall. They sat across from each other at the corner table in Café Seraphine, the one by the window where the light always hit Maya's cheek just right, like nature couldn't help but adore her. Leo, ever the artist, had sketched that light a dozen times. Now he was trying not to look at it. He stared instead at his chipped coffee cup, running his finger over a tiny crack in the glaze like it might explain where. They went wrong. I think we're doing it again, Maya said quietly. Leo didn't answer right away. The air between them was brittle, full of unspoken things. Outside, people passed wrapped in scarves, the city already smelling faintly of burning wood and early holiday candles. Inside, the heater hummed and the barista's laughter rang out. In the distance, completely unaware or uncaring that a relationship was ending in the far corner. Maya exhaled and pushed her untouched tea aside. I mean, we fight. We say we're fine, we pretend. Then we come here and break up like it's tradition. Leo lifted his eyes slowly. She was still beautiful, even with her brows furrowed, even with that tired, guarded look that had taken residence on her face these past few weeks. Her dark hair was pinned back the way she always did when she was trying to be composed. Her hands, small and pale, twisted her napkin into confetti. Maybe we're broken, he said. Maybe we're that kind of couple. She nodded, but her lips trembled. The kind that loves hard, fights harder, and keeps circling the same drain. Exactly. He meant it to sound ironic, but it came out hollow. They both laughed a little, dry, exhausted laughs. It had been 2 years since they met. 2 years since Leo had spilled coffee on her sketchbook at an open gallery night and tried to apologize, with a ridiculous doodle of a giraffe drinking espresso. 2 years of highs that felt like flying and lows that scraped bone. Passion came easy. But peace? Peace was a stranger they couldn't seem to invite in. Leo looked out the window. I can't tell anymore if this is what love is supposed to feel like, or if we just keep mistaking pain for passion. Maya flinched. Don't. I'm being honest. I know, but I don't want to dissect it. Not here. Not now. They sat in silence again, the kind that doesn't just stretch, it chokes. Do you remember when we drove to Vermont last fall? She asked suddenly. He smiled faintly. You mean when I nearly drove us into a tree because we were arguing about the GPS? She laughed genuinely this time. No, after that, when we pulled off the road and found that pumpkin patch. With the haunted corn maze. Yeah. She looked down at her hands. We were good that day. Really good. Leo's voice softened. We've had a lot of good days. She didn't respond to that. The waitress came by with the check. Maya reached for her purse, but Leo beat her to it. They didn't argue, just let the moment slide, like so many others. He signed the receipt slowly, as if delaying the end. When they stepped out into the chill, the wind bit at their coats and sent leaves spiraling around their feet. The world looked so damn romantic. Grey skies, golden trees, cold noses. It almost mocked them. I guess this is it, Maya said. Leo shoved his hands in his pockets. Until next time, she winced. Please don't. What? He shrugged. This is what we do, right? Fall apart, come back, rinse, repeat. I don't want to come back just to do this again. I can't. He looked at her then, really looked. There was something different in her eyes, something resolute, and it scared him. So that's it? Maya hesitated. I think it has to be. They stood on the sidewalk for a moment, the traffic rolling by, pedestrians weaving around them like they weren't there. Leo wanted to say something, anything, but he didn't know what could hold enough weight to keep her from walking away. She leaned in and kissed his cheek. I hope you paint something good this year. He swallowed hard. I always do right after we break up. Maya gave him a sad smile and turned. He watched her walk away down the street, her figure shrinking until she disappeared around the corner. Then he sat down on the bench outside the cafe, pulled out his sketch pad, and drew her from memory. 3 years earlier. The first time Leo saw Maya, she was yelling at a barista, not in a rude way, more in an artist's panic. She had just spilled espresso across her own sketchbook and was demanding a stack of napkins while muttering, "It's in the ink! It's in the damn ink!" Leo had been standing behind her in line, holding a paint-smeared canvas under one arm and an iced Americano in the other. He chuckled, stepped forward, and handed her one of his own drawing pads. "Trade you. Yours looks like." "It's drowning." She blinked at him, startled. "Seriously, seriously." She hesitated, then took the pad. "You're either very kind or very stupid." "I'm Leo," he said. "Maya." They ended up sitting at the same table, sketching in companionable silence. When she left, he asked for her number, and she scrawled it on the last page of the pad. That night, he looked at the number like it was a lottery ticket. Back in the present, the sketch Leo made outside Café Seraphine wasn't his best. Her eyes were too big, and he hadn't captured the curve of her mouth quite right, but it didn't matter. It wasn't about accuracy, it was about memory. He flipped to a new page and wrote the date in the corner, October 17th. Then, beneath it, he scribbled, "First goodbye." Again. Later that evening, Leo returned to his apartment, where the walls were cluttered with canvases, half-finished portraits, and open tubes of oil paint. It smelled of turpentine and old coffee. He sat on the floor, sketchpad in hand, and added the new drawing to a growing pile labeled M. He'd never shown anyone those pages. Not his friends, not even Maya. He picked up his phone, hovered his thumb over her name in his messages. She hadn't texted. He hadn't either. It was a strange sort of standoff, one they both knew too well. He thought about the first time they made up after a breakup, 2 weeks later in this same apartment, after too much whiskey and not enough logic. She had knocked on his door, shivering in the rain, and simply said, "I don't want to be right. I want to be with you." He had kissed her like a drowning man then. And here he was again, alone, drowning in silence. Leo tossed his phone on the couch and picked up a paintbrush. Instead, he'd paint tonight, not to forget, but to remember, like he always did. He dipped the brush in crimson and began to trace lines on the canvas. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Another October, another goodbye. But he knew the seasons, and he knew that love, at least their kind of love, had a cycle, even if it broke him a little more every time. Leo didn't hear from Maya for 34 days. Not that he was counting. Okay, he was. Every morning, he'd check his phone before brushing his teeth. Every evening, he'd scroll through old texts, stopping at the one with the photo of her holding a slice of pizza like it was sacred. Her hair had been tied back in a messy bun, her eyes wide with excitement because they'd found the best slice in the city, and she was sure of it. That was a good day. October 3rd, a lifetime ago. Now it was November. The first snow had kissed the pavement, and Leo stood outside Maya's favorite bookstore like a man teetering on a ledge. Inside, warm lights glowed against tall windows. The smell of paper and cinnamon wafted through the door every time someone came or went. He hadn't planned to be here. It was a mistake, a compulsion. Like a muscle memory his heart hadn't unlearned. He watched for 10 minutes before finally stepping inside. Bell jingling overhead, wooden floors creaking beneath his boots. He didn't expect to see her. Really, he didn't. So when she appeared between the aisles, scarf wrapped around her neck, coat dusted with snow, hair longer than it had been in October, his breath caught. Maya looked up at the same moment. The silence between them was instantaneous. No greeting, no smile. Just wide eyes and the buzz of 1,000 thoughts neither could say. Leo raised a hand awkwardly. "Hey," she nodded. "Hey." A pause stretched between them like thread. "Didn't know you still came here," she said. "Who could say the same?" Maya gave a small smile. Old habits, hard to break, her arms folded. You here for something? Leo wanted to say you, but instead he muttered, new journal, ran out of pages. That was a lie. He had 10 blank ones left, but showing up because he missed her wasn't something he could admit. Not yet, Maya looked at the book in her hand. I came for poetry. Didn't realize how much I missed it. He stepped closer, drawn to her, despite every logical protest firing in his brain. Find anything good? She turned the book to show him. Rainer Maria Rilke, the same poet she quoted the first night they slept together, whispering verses against his skin like spells. He read the highlighted passage. Let everything happen. To you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. They both stared at it. Maya shut the book. I should go. Wait, Leo said too quickly. Can we get coffee? She hesitated. It doesn't have to mean anything. He added, except it always does, doesn't it? He didn't have an answer for that, Maya sighed. Fine, 1 coffee. They went back to Café Seraphine because neither of them suggested anywhere else, and the weight of nostalgia was heavier than pride. It was quieter this time, colder too. The heat hissed in the vents, fogging the windows. They sat at their table, again as if nothing had changed. Maya cupped her mug, steam curling up around her face. So, what have you been doing? Leo shrugged. Painting. Anything new? A lot, actually. 1 series, all red and gold. I've been calling. Odit ashes. She tilted her head. Ashes? He stirred his coffee. It's about what's left after something burns. Maya didn't speak. Her gaze dropped to the tiny heart shape swirled in her latte foam. That's beautiful. And sad. Yeah, he said. Like us. They both. Let the silence breathe. He tried to break it gently. Do you ever think about us since we combusted? She finished. Leo gave a half smile. That's a good word for it. Maya looked out the window. I think about us too much. Sometimes I feel like I'm still in it, even when I'm not. Leo's throat tightened. Same. I told myself this time was final, she whispered, that I had to learn how to be okay without you, that maybe the version of me that exists with you isn't someone I like anymore. That's not fair, he said. But it's true, she replied. I became reactive, needy, always on edge. That's not who I am. Leo bit his lip. Maybe we made each other that way. Maybe. They sipped in silence for a while. Maya finally asked, Are you seeing anyone? He shook his head. I tried. It didn't work. Why not? He hesitated. Because she wasn't you. That earned a soft scoff. Leo, I'm not trying to guilt you, he said quickly. I just want to be honest. Maya studied him. You always do this. Do what? Say the right thing, look the right way, make me feel like there's still hope. Then we get back together and everything unravels. Leo leaned forward. It doesn't have to. Maybe we've grown, maybe we've learned, or maybe we've just gotten better at pretending. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Maya stood up. I shouldn't have come. Please don't go. Her voice cracked. Leo, I love you. I never stopped, but loving you breaks me in ways I'm tired of fixing. His hands clenched into fists on the table. Then let me fix it. Let me fix us. Tears shimmered in her eyes. You can't. We always promise we'll be better. We always end up back in pieces. He stood too. So what then? We just walk away? Again? Pretend we're not part of each other's DNA? Maya took a shaky breath. No, we acknowledge it, we grieve it, and we let it go. He didn't follow her this time, not out of pride, but out of fear. Fear that chasing her again would only drag them both through more of the same wreckage. Fear that loving her meant surrendering to a fire they couldn't survive. 3 weeks later, Thanksgiving came and went. Leo's apartment stayed cold, even with the heater on. He hadn't painted in days. The red and gold series sat in the corner, of his studio, untouched, unfinished. His friends invited him out, he declined. He ate takeout alone, watched black and white movies Maya once claimed bored her to death, and fell asleep on the couch with a half-drunk beer in his hand. On December 1st, his phone buzzed. "Maya, can you meet me tonight?" His hands trembled. He didn't answer right away, didn't even breathe. Then, Leo. Where? They met at the bridge near the park, the one with the rusted iron railings and the graffiti that read, "Love is a fire." She wore the same grey coat. She had the first night they kissed. The air smelled of snow and wood smoke. "I thought we were done," Leo said. Maya tucked her hair behind her ear. "I thought so too." "Then why am I here?" "Because I don't know how to do this without you." He stepped forward. "We're going to crash again, you know that." She nodded. "Probably. We'll fight. We'll break. One of us will cry in a cafe." She gave a sad laugh. "Most likely." "So why?" Maya looked at him with eyes full of ruin and love. "Because I'd rather crash with you than coast without you." Leo didn't say anything. He just rapped, his arms around her like a man who'd lost and found the same thing all in one breath, and when she kissed him, it didn't taste like hope. It tasted like history. They didn't call it getting back together. Not officially. There were no labels. This time, no declarations, no Facebook status changes. Just a soft slide into familiar rhythms. Shared breakfasts, text messages that picked up right where they'd left off, toothbrushes side by side in Leo's bathroom again. It was as if they'd hit play on a paused movie, skipping over the ending. That never quite stuck. December snow blanketed the sidewalks. Holiday lights twinkled in apartment windows. And Maya, wrapped in Leo's oversized hoodie, sat on his couch with her feet curled beneath her, flipping through the sketchbook he hadn't let anyone else see. "These are beautiful," she said, tracing a charcoal outline with her fingertip. "Is this me?" Leo shrugged, a little embarrassed. "Maybe. You didn't exaggerate the scowl," she teased. He smiled. "That's from memory." She laughed and leaned over to kiss him. "You're an idiot." And just like that, it felt easy again. Natural, almost. On Christmas Eve, Leo brought her to his mother's house. It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time after everything. His mother, Eleanor, greeted Maya with cautious warmth, her hug lingering a little too long, her eyes scanning Maya's face like she was still trying to decide if this reunion was hope or heartbreak. "Nice to see you again, sweetheart," Eleanor said gently. "You too, Mrs. Caswell." Dinner was roasted lamb, warm bread, and red wine that made everyone a little too honest. "So," Eleanor said midway through dessert, "is this official again?" Leo and Maya exchanged a glance. "We're taking it slow," Maya said carefully. Eleanor nodded. "You two always did have intensity." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Is that your nice way of saying we're a disaster?" "I'm saying," she said, smiling slightly, "that people who love each other hard also hurt each other hard. And sometimes they forget which is which." Maya looked down at her plate. Leo reached for her hand under the table. Eleanor saw. She said nothing. Later, back at Leo's apartment, they lay side by side under a tangle of blankets, the radiator clanking in the corner like an old ghost. Snowflakes danced outside the window, and somewhere in the building, someone was playing jazz. Maya turned toward him. "Do you think your mum hates me?" Leo snorted. "No, she's just worried." "She should be." "Why?" "Because she saw what I did to you, what we did to each other." He touched her face. "We've both made mistakes." "Yeah, but mine were bigger." Leo propped himself on one elbow. "Maya, you're not some villain in my story. You're the whole story." Her eyes shimmered. "That's what scares me." They didn't talk much after that, just held each other too tightly, as if afraid the morning might take it all away. New Year's Eve came like a dare. They didn't go to any parties. No rooftop champagne or midnight fireworks. Instead, they stayed home, opened a bottle of cheap Prosecco, and watched the countdown on TV from under a shared blanket. When the clock struck midnight, Leo kissed her, slow, deliberate. It felt like a promise, one neither of them said aloud, and for a while everything was good, too good. January 12th was the first crack. It started small. Maya was late coming home from work. No text, no call. Leo paced the living room, glancing at the clock. Every few minutes, when she walked in, half frozen, cheeks flushed, he met her with a tense look. "Where were you?" She shrugged off her coat. "Work ran late." "You couldn't text?" "I was in meetings. My phone died." "You couldn't borrow someone's charger?" She froze mid-step. "Are you serious right now?" "I was worried." "No," she said, tossing her gloves down. "You were suspicious." "That's not fair." Maya crossed her arms. "I'm not cheating on you, Leo." "I didn't say you were. You didn't have to." Silence thickened between them, old shadows creeping in. Leo sighed. "I just wanted to know you were okay." "I was okay, until I walked in here and got interrogated." He opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded. "Okay, I'm sorry." Maya turned away, jaw clenched. "I just want to breathe without having to prove I love you every 5 minutes. That stung, because part of him did need that. Constant reassurance. Proof that this time it wouldn't fall apart again, and part of her resented having to give it. January 23rd. The second fight was about groceries. It wasn't really about groceries, but that's where it started. Leo forgetting to pick up the key. Almond milk she liked, Maya snapping that he never listened, Leo firing back that she never appreciated how hard he was trying. "I'm not a mind reader," he shouted, "and I'm not your emotional punching bag." It escalated fast. It always did. Words were said, doors were slammed. She slept in the spare room. He didn't sleep at all. February 3rd. They made up, half-heartedly. Sex first, then apologies whispered against pillowcases. But something had shifted. The warmth was still there, but so was the tremble. They began to walk on eggshells, afraid of setting each other off. Leo stopped mentioning his dreams about moving in together. Maya stopped leaving notes in his sketchbook. They became polite, careful. Until one night, Maya stood at the window and said quietly, "We're doing it again." Leo didn't look up from his drawing. "Doing what?" "This," she whispered, cracking open the same old wounds and pretending they're healing. He put the pencil down. "We're trying, aren't we?" "Trying doesn't mean we're right for each other." "Maybe not," he admitted, "but it means we still want each other." She turned to him slowly. "Do you?" Leo stood, walked to her. "More than anything." Her eyes searched his. "Even if it ends the same way?" He nodded. "Even then." She kissed him, soft and slow. But something in her kiss tasted like goodbye. Valentine's Day came with snow and silence. They had plans. Dinner, wine, Maya's favorite chocolate cake from the corner bakery. But at 6:45 p.m., Leo stood in front of the mirror, fixing his collar, when his phone buzzed. "Maya, I'm sorry. I can't do tonight, or tomorrow, maybe not even the next day. I need space." He stared at the screen, then again, then again. No anger, no explosion, just absence, a quiet retreat. He texted back, "Leo, is this space for a day or space forever?" No answer. That night, he ate the chocolate cake alone. It tasted like ashes. By March, the city began to thaw. Icicles melted into gutters. Sidewalks shed their slush and grime. People walked a little faster, smiled a little easier. Spring was coming, and the streets felt it. Leo, however, did not. His apartment, once full of Maya's perfume and laughter, felt like a room mid-breath. Holding, still waiting for a voice that wasn't coming back. 3 weeks, that's how long it had been since her last message. Not a call, not a visit. Just that one sentence, I need space, and then nothing. Leo didn't chase her this time. He'd done that before. Begged, reasoned, showed up at her door with flowers and apologies and promises, always thinking the next gesture might be the one that fixed everything. But this time, he let the silence stretch, because maybe silence said more than words ever could. It wasn't until mid-March that he saw her again. Not in person. On Instagram, she'd posted a photo of cherry blossoms blooming in Central Park. The caption read, "Spring reminds me I can start over." No mention of him, no sign of grief. Just her, smiling, distant, unreachable. He stared at the image for a long time, then clicked out of the app and opened his sketchbook. For the first time in weeks, he started drawing again. Not Maya, not her eyes or her laugh or the way her hair curled behind her ear. He drew a field of forget-me-nots, and then he let the page be April 5th, the first warm day of the year. The kind that made people believe again. Leo met Evan and Jasmine at a sidewalk cafe. The three of them hadn't seen each other since before the breakup. So, Evan sipped his espresso. "How are you?" "Really?" Leo shrugged. "Functional." Jasmine gave him a pointed look, which means not falling apart, not exactly whole either. "You heard from her?" Evan asked gently. "No, not since February." They both went quiet. "I don't know if it's over this time," Leo admitted, or just paused again. "Do you want it to be over?" Jasmine asked. Leo looked up. "Some days I do. Some days I can breathe easier without her, but other days I see her in everything, like she's stitched into my skin." Jasmine reached across the table, squeezed his hand. "Love isn't supposed to suffocate you." "I know," he said, "but being without her doesn't feel like breathing either. It just feels numb." Evan exhaled slowly. "You know, Leo, maybe you two are in love with the version of each other that only exists in the in-between, the getting back together phase. That's the part that always feels perfect." Leo thought about that all the way home. April 16th, a knock on his door, late, just past midnight. He opened it without checking the peephole. There she was, Maya, hair messy from the wind, eyes tired, lips slightly parted like she'd been rehearsing. "What to say?" "Hi," she whispered. Leo's chest ached. "Hey." They stood in the doorway for a moment too long, like two ghosts trying to remember if they'd once been alive together. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside. She walked in like she belonged, like no time had passed. He watched as she stood in, the same spot she always did, just to the left of the bookshelf. Her hands fidgeted with the sleeves of her coat. "I almost didn't come," she said. "I almost didn't open the door." She looked up sharply. "Really?" "No," he admitted. "I always would have opened it. That's the problem." A pause. "I'm sorry," Maya said. "For what?" "For breaking your heart. Again. For always needing space, but never knowing what to do with it once I had it." Leo leaned against the counter. "Why'd you come back?" she swallowed. "Because every time I leave, I think it'll get easier. That I'll finally move on. That I'll forget how it feels to be near you. But then spring comes, and I remember everything. I remember us." He didn't speak. "I missed you," she said softly. He still didn't speak. Maya's voice cracked. "Leo?" "I missed you too." She stepped forward, carefully, as if he might bolt. "I don't know how to be with you without breaking us," she said. "And I don't know how to let go of you without breaking myself." Their eyes met. Maya's voice shook. "So what do we do?" Leo thought about it. The years, the fights, the reunions that felt like homecomings, the heartbreaks that felt like slow deaths, the spring mornings that always drew them back like magnets. He walked to her, took her hand, held it, then said, "We stop trying to be what we think love is supposed to look like." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we stop chasing the high, the drama, the movie version. We stop breaking up just to feel something again. If we're going to do this, Maya, it has to be real. quiet, steady, unromantic sometimes, but safe. She breathed in, then out. Safe sounds boring. Safe sounds like peace. Maya closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were wet, but hopeful. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's try." They didn't kiss that night. They didn't fall into bed or talk until sunrise. They sat on the couch, side by side, hands intertwined. They talked about therapy, about routines, about the patterns they kept repeating and how much work it would take to change. And it would take work, more than either of them had ever tried before. But spring was here. And maybe, just maybe, this time they could grow something that didn't wilt when the seasons changed. The first truly hot day of summer hit in early June, the kind of day where asphalt shimmered and subway seats burned, and the city smelled like too many people crammed into not enough space. Leo and Maya were on opposite ends of the couch, eating popsicles like they were rationed survival tools. "I forgot how disgusting summer could be," Maya muttered, tilting her head back against the cushion. Leo grinned. "You say that every year." "Because every year I forget." He leaned over, tapping her knee with his foot. "So, are you staying this time?" Maya looked at him, her face unreadable. "I think I finally realized something." "What?" "It was never the seasons that made us break up," she said quietly. "It was us. It was me. I kept running because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That I'd lose myself inside." "Us." Leo's smile faded, but he nodded. And I think I needed to lose myself a little. Not in a bad way, in the way people change when they make space for someone else. She sat up straighter, her popsicle dripping onto a napkin. "The truth is, I used to think love had to feel like fireworks, all-consuming, drama and passion and pain, that if it didn't break you, it wasn't real." He waited. "But now," she said, looking over at him, "I want a quiet love, one that lets me be soft. That lets me stay." Leo reached for her hand. "Then stay." It wasn't perfect. They still had little fights, about the dishes, about plans, about how Maya would forget to plug in her phone and then panic the next morning, about how Leo could get distant when he was in the middle of a project and sometimes forgot she was there at all. But they didn't use the fights as an excuse to leave anymore. They stayed. They stayed through the arguments, through the awkward silences, through the moments that used to be followed by slammed doors and tearful texts and long walks that led to goodbyes. Now, they learned how to argue with open hands instead of clenched fists. They learned how to sit beside each other even when they were angry. They learned how to love without needing to be right all the time. One particularly humid night in July, they were lying in bed, the fan spinning noisily above them. Maya turned to him and said, "You know, this is the first summer we've made it through without breaking up." Leo blinked. "Seriously?" "Dead serious." He thought about it. "Wow. No, we're setting records." He grinned. "Do we get a trophy or something?" She leaned in, kissed his cheek. "No, but you get me for another month. Maybe even longer." He turned to her, expression playful but soft. "You sure that's a prize?" Maya shrugged. "I think I finally understand what love is." Yeah, it's not butterflies. It's staying when it's easier to go. It's choosing someone again and again, even when it's not exciting. It's making lunch, folding laundry, saying I'm sorry when you'd rather not." Leo laughed. "That's the least romantic definition I've ever heard," she smiled, "but it's the one I want." And he believed her. For the first time, he really, truly believed she meant it. August came. They took a weekend trip to a lake, upstate. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal, just trees and sunburns and borrowed kayaks. They cooked together over a tiny camp stove, fought off mosquitoes like warriors, and played board games by lantern light. One night, watching the stars over the water, Maya said, "I used to think love was like gravity. Something that pulled you in without your choice. Leo looked at her, his hand resting on hers. And now, he asked. Now I think it's like rowing, she said. Hard, repetitive. Sometimes you don't move as fast as you want. But if both people keep paddling, eventually you get somewhere beautiful. Leo didn't say anything. He just kissed her, slow and steady, and she kissed him back. They didn't say forever. That word had failed them too many times, but they said, let's keep going. They said, see you tonight. They said, I love you, not like a climax, but like punctuation, something that belonged in the middle of a sentence, not just at the end. And by fall, their friends started noticing. You guys feel different, Jasmine said over brunch one Sunday. Like less on edge. Maya smiled, because we stopped trying to win. Evan raised an eyebrow. Win what? Everything, Maya said. The fights, the drama, the storybook ending. We stopped chasing a perfect love story and started building an honest one. Leo nodded. It's not glamorous, but it's ours. October 10th. 1 year since the last time they'd broken up. They didn't celebrate it. Not really, but they did cook dinner together, watch the leaves fall from their apartment window, lit a candle and listened to the city hum below them. At one point, Maya looked up and said, do you think we'll ever break up again? Leo considered the question. Not flippantly, not fearfully, just honestly. Maybe, he said. But if we do, I hope it's the last time. Maya smiled. Me too. She rested her head on his shoulder, and they stayed like that for a long time, just breathing, just being together.